Plaintiff David Morris dated the defendant, and they lived together along with their children. David claims the defendant wanted to come before his kids, and when he refused to do that, she kicked him out. He's suing his ex for unpaid loans. Defendant Gina LaRusso says dating David was one of the biggest mistakes of her life. Gina claims while they lived together, she caught David stealing her pain medication, and she denies owing him for anything.
Tell me what happened.
Well, we met on the internet, and things went very quickly. Emails, phone calls, we met each other, we're kids. We meshed very, very well. Even to the point we went to concerts, DJ Pauly D even one night. Everybody melded very well. As things progressed, we decided to move in together. During the process of moving in together, I was doing most of the moving myself. Having girls in high school, they didn't do a lot of help and heavy lifting. My ankle would get kind of sore. I had broken it falling off a deer stand many years ago, and since she was on some medication, she would give me some at the end of the night to kind of help my ankle. One morning, I actually was on my way to work, and the pills were out on the counter. I grabbed one more to help with my ankle on my way to work. That night, I discussed it with her, told her I didn't want her to think any of the kids had taken any of the pills or anything, and let her count be off. As we were together for another couple of weeks, it seemed like I was always defending my kids. You know, there was like a dish in the sink, and, you know, who didn't put that in the dishwasher? And so I was kind of always defending my kids, it seemed like, until one night she looked at me and she said, "When do I come first?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, you don't." And that didn't seem to fit with her very well, and she's like, "Well, I don't know about that. I'm going to have to leave." And so she started packing stuff up that night, and I thought, well, that's okay. She needs some time to cool off and, you know, do something and think about it. And I went downstairs and watched TV and played on the computer a little bit, and she'd like, "You're just going to let me go?" And I just kind of sat there going, you know. And then the next day we were going to talk, and in the morning, but I had to go to work, and she goes, "You just let me leave us last night." And I said, "Listen, if you want somebody to run after you and go, 'Please don't go, please don't go, I can't live without you,' I ain't going to do that. If you want to go, go."
I would probably run from him if he did that.
So, you know, after that morning, the next thing I knew, I was talking to my kids on the way home, and my kids said, "Dad, you know, get home quick. It's kind of weird here. Her parents are here." And so I get into my house, and her parents are there, and she's a bit upset, yelling things like, "That's it, we're through, we're done, you stole my pills." And I'm just like, well, hold on here, you know, and she wanted me to leave.
Defendant Gina LaRusso dated the plaintiff, and she claims while they lived together, she caught him stealing her pain medication.
Okay, let me hear some background from you.
I consider this whole situation one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Mr. Morris is a perpetual child that refuses to grow up. He tie-dyes everything he wears. At one point, we suspected he was smoking marijuana. We could smell it on him. My kids could smell it in the car. We smelled it coming from the garage. When we moved in, that's when things started going wrong.
He get a little closer, you're going to smell some again.
Yeah.
I'll breathe on you. I'll breathe on you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
He drove erratically with the kids in the car. And eventually when we moved in together into the condo, things just got bad. I mean, when he got upset with the kids, he became aggressive with the kids, and things just kind of perpetuated. I had brain surgery, I'd had back surgery, so I had chronic pain. I had to have the medication. Eventually I noticed the amount of the pills dwindling, and I wasn't taking them that much. So finally one day I came around the corner before he left for work, and I heard him taking pills out of the bottle. And it's not true, he did not discuss it with me that night. He didn't discuss it with me at all until my parents came there. His behavior became erratic because I was after his kids all the time because they were leaving food in their bedrooms. Plates that they had eaten off from were there for 2 days. Crap was all over the house, and I was tired of it. I was cleaning up after his kids like a maid, and I was done with it. But when I talked to him about his kids being pigs in the house, he looked at me and he said, "My kids will always come first." So I could be a maid to his kids, picking up after him, but I was never going to come first. When the pain medication was missing and I noticed him taking them, I hid them, and his behavior became very erratic, like he was withdrawing off from them. He became very aggressive towards me. He yelled at me. One day had me backed up against the wall, pointing his finger in my face, yelling at me. And that was the day that I left. I did not pack my things and leave. I left from the home because he was becoming very aggressive. I spent the night in a hotel. The next morning I came home. He hadn't left for work yet. He was still yelling at me. That was when I called my parents out to help us negotiate who was going to stay and who was going to go, because we were both on the lease. My parents came out, and in front of my parents, I asked him if he stole pain medication from me, and yes, he did admit that he did. And he wouldn't say how many he stole. I know from the amounts of it that it was way more than 2 pills, and I never gave him any of them.
All right, let me get to the loans you're suing her about.
She had a 401, a retirement fund coming from her divorce, and so I was helping her with bills and paying rent. She never paid rent. She never paid any rent at all for anything. I paid everything. Then I have the loans, the amount to her for her car payments and everything else, the insurance. And
All right, and give me the dates that she agreed to repay.
she was going to repay when she got her money from her divorce settlement, her QDRO. I have
Did
also.
she get it yet?
Well, she finally got it. I have an email when she said she was going to give it to me, which
she
then
said,
didn't.
I have my divorce settlement.
Right, I'm going to give you the money, and then she didn't, and then she said
New
she
furniture
wouldn't.
came. My money is here. I will leave an envelope with your money tomorrow. Ma'am, what do you want to tell me about this money?
That when he first wrote out those checks, there was never any agreement that I would pay him back. It was to hold me over until I moved out to Sussex, to his home. And then from there, we were going to open a joint account, and the home or the expenses for the house were going to be paid out of there. We opened up the joint account. My checks were direct deposited into that account, but his never were. I was working at the time, and I had paychecks going in. I have a bank statement with everything highlighted as to what I paid and my deposits going in there, and it totals over $5,000. I also have a couple checks that were wrote out to Dave for $250, another one for $500. The reason that I offered, and he's missing an email in there, the reason I offered $1,500 when I moved out, because I was offering it on good faith that I would A, get off the lease, and B, that the girls could continue to be friends because they wanted to hang out. He's missing the
So
email.
you wanted to pay him for the children's
No, just so we wouldn't
friendship?
argue. I did not want to argue with him because
What?
that's the way he was.
Oh, so
That's what he wanted.
you paid to have your children play with his children. That's what you're telling me?
Because that's what my kids
That's what you want me to believe,
Yeah.
that you paid him
Yeah.
to allow your children to play with his
Yes, I
children.
did.
That is
I did.
totally unreasonable and unbelievable. And you say here that you owe him money. As such, I'm going to believe him because he speaks reasonably. He has provided me with evidence. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Ron. Gina, I appreciate that this is all done with, and again, our kids I still hope can be good friends. They're going to be friends for a long, long time, and I'm glad it's done now.
Our kids can't be friends when you yank them out of my apartment at 8 o'clock in the morning like a maniac.
Okay, you left on your own accord. I'm sorry.
I did.
All
I
right.
did. I'm done with you.
And that's what I was hoping we'd be done now.
Yeah,
and we
that's
are.
great.
All right,
Perfect
so
for
we
me.
are. We're done.
Go take some more drugs.